Welcome to Fantasy Lore. Let us introduce the world and its characters. The floating city of Lumina, a marvel of Ethereum technology, hovers above a desolate wasteland. The once vibrant surface world was ravaged by the blight. A magical corruption that devours life and magic alike. Lumina survives by harvesting starlight, a dwindling resource that fuels its defenses and keeps the blight at bay. Astraeus, a street thief with nimble fingers and a knack for pilfering. He dreams of escaping Lumina's stifling social hierarchy and exploring the forbidden lands below. However, a chance encounter with a mysterious artifact and a sky guard sets him on a collision course with a forgotten legacy. Another character, her name is Erica. She will be assisting Astraeus' journey. Another character named Sergeant Reyes, also assisting Astraeus' journey. Also, we have Seraphina. We will see a glimpse of her, but maybe more. Let us begin. Once upon a time.
Book title: The Stolen Stars. Chapter 1. Undercity Shuffle. The rusty fire escape groaned under Astraeus' weight as he hoisted himself onto the rooftop. Below, the maze of alleys of Lumina's undercity shimmered with a sickly green glow from the dying Ethereum crystals clinging to the towering structures above. It wasn't exactly a sunset view, but it beat another night spent huddled in a pile of discarded hoverboard parts. Tonight, however, Astraeus wasn't scavenging for scrap metal. A thrill of rebellion danced in his veins as he clutched the object hidden beneath his tattered cloak. A smooth metal disc engraved with swirling patterns that pulsed with a faint warmth. It wasn't like anything he'd ever seen before in the Undercity's usual haul of dented canisters and broken Ethereum shards. This felt like a real score, a ticket out of the dark maze below and into something more. A siren shattered the night's quiet. Sky guards. Astraeus cursed under his breath, shoving the disc deeper into his pocket. He wasn't exactly known for following Lumina's ever-growing list of nonsensical rules, but getting caught messing with unknown artifacts wasn't exactly high on his to-do list. With the grace of an alley cat, Astraeus bolted across the rooftop, his worn boots pounding against the metal floor. The clang of pursuing guards echoed in the narrow alley below, their heavy armor clanging with each frustrated step. He weaved through a maze of ventilation shafts and precariously balanced pipes. Just as his pursuers seemed to be gaining ground, a figure dropped from the smog-filled sky. Seraphina, a sky guard known for her stoicism and razor-sharp glare, landed on the rooftop with a soft thud. Her armor, sleek and black, gleamed faintly in the twilight. Astraeus skidded to a halt, chest heaving, heart hammering a frantic rhythm against his ribs. The guards below exchanged a hesitant glance with Seraphina. She radiated an aura of authority that nobody could ignore. With a grumbled apology, the guards turned and retreated back into the puzzling alleyways. Seraphina's gaze landed on Astraeus. He couldn't decipher the emotion in her dark eyes, but a flicker of something, maybe curiosity, sparked within them. "All right, kid," she said, her voice surprisingly low and calm. "What did you snag this time?" Chapter 2. Whispers of the Blight. Astraeus eyed Seraphina warily. He'd seen her plenty of times. But now, she stood some mere feet away, and for the first time, Astraeus noticed the weary lines etched around her eyes. He hesitated, then slowly pulled the metal disc from his pocket. "I don't know what it is," he admitted. "Just found it hidden in a wall." Seraphina took the disc into her hands. Her gaze narrowed as she held the disc, turning it over in her gloved hands. Her face hardened, and Astraeus felt a shiver run down his spine. "This isn't just any trinket, kid," she said, her voice low and serious. "This is a fragment of a celestial compass, an artifact lost for centuries." Astraeus blinked. A celestial compass? What did that even mean? "Before the Blight," she began, her voice taking on a distant tone, "the surface world thrived under a benevolent sun. This compass helped us harness its power, its light shielding us from the darkness that lurked beyond the stars." Astraeus had heard whispers of the Blight, a creeping evil that devoured magic and life alike, leaving behind a desolate wasteland. But this talk of a benevolent sun and harnessing starlight, it sounded like a story from a forgotten age. "Then what happened?" Astraeus blurted out, curiosity overcoming his wariness. Seraphina's expression turned grim. "The Blight came. It spread like a disease, corrupting everything it touched. The sun's light was choked out, and with it our magic. We were forced to seek refuge here, above the Blight's reach." Astraeus looked out at the oppressive twilight, a feeling of suffocating dread settling in his stomach. Lumina, with its towering buildings and artificial glow, seemed more like a prison than a sanctuary. "That's why the sky guards patrol the outside," he whispered, a sudden understanding dawning on him. "Exactly," Seraphina said, her eyes hardening. "We keep the Blight at bay, but it grows stronger every year. This compass—" She trailed off, tracing the intricate symbols on the disk with her finger. "It might hold the key to regaining our lost power, to pushing back the Blight and reclaiming our world." Astraeus stared at the compass fragment in her hand, a relic of a lost age, a potential weapon against an unseen enemy. Suddenly, the thrill of the unknown returned, tinged with a new sense of responsibility. He might just have stumbled upon something bigger than anything he'd ever imagined. "What happens now?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. Seraphina's gaze met his, her expression unreadable. "Now," she said, "we need to find the other pieces." Chapter 3. Divided Loyalties. The news of Astraeus's discovery spread like wildfire through the Undercity. Whispers of a celestial compass, a relic with the power to reclaim the lost world, danced on the polluted wind. Some scoffed, dismissing it as another one of Astraeus's wild goose chases. Others, eyes gleaming with hope, saw a chance to escape the confines of Lumina's underbelly. Astraeus, however, found himself caught in a tug-of-war between two very different factions. Seraphina, the stoic sky guard, radiated a quiet conviction. She saw the compass as the key to not just restoring their lost power, but pushing back the Blight and rebuilding their world on the surface. She offered Astraeus a chance to be a part of something bigger, to train with the sky guards and contribute to the mission. On the other hand, the Council, Lumina's elite governing body, summoned Astraeus for a more opulent proposition. Stepping into the council chambers was like stepping into another world. Glowing Ethereum crystals adorned the walls, bathing the room in an artificial daylight. Luxuriously clad figures lounged on plush chairs, their faces etched with concern, but not the weary kind Astraeus saw in Seraphina's eyes. Counselor Ethel, a man with a neatly trimmed beard and a voice dripping with honeyed promises, offered Astraeus a different deal. "The compass, young man," he purred, leaning forward in his chair, "presents a unique opportunity. It could be a source of immense power, power that could ensure Lumina's continued survival." Astraeus shifted on his feet, uncomfortable under the scrutiny of a dozen calculating eyes. "Survival? What about reclaiming the surface?" Counselor Ethel's smile faltered for a brief moment. "The surface," he said, his voice dropping to a low murmur, "is lost. We must focus on securing Lumina's future." A gnawing suspicion began to form in Astraeus's gut. The council seemed less interested in pushing back the blight and more interested in using the compass to solidify their own power within Lumina. Did they even care about the world beyond the city's shimmering dome? As he left the council chambers, the weight of the decision pressed down on him. Seraphina offered adventure and a chance to fight for a brighter future, but it would mean facing the unknown dangers of the blighted lands. The council's offer promised security and a comfortable life within Lumina, but at what cost? For the first time in his life, Astraeus had a choice to make, a choice that could determine the fate of not just himself, but potentially the entire world. As he clutched the compass fragment in his pocket, its faint warmth seemed to echo his own burning question. Where did his future lie? Chapter 4. A Choice Forged in Fire. Astraeus spent the next few days in a restless haze. Sleep offered no escape, his mind replaying the starkly different futures presented by Seraphina and the council. Seraphina's fiery determination resonated with a deep yearning within him, a desire to break free from the Undercity's suffocating shadows and explore the world beyond the artificial twilight. However, the council's promises of comfort and safety were undeniably tempting. In the evening, as the ever-present twilight settled over Lumina, Astraeus found himself drawn to the Undercity's makeshift training yard. A ragtag group of hopefuls sparred under the watchful eye of Kyle, a grizzled former sky guard known for his gruff demeanor and unmatched combat skills. Watching them, Astraeus felt a pang of longing. This was the kind of life Seraphina had offered, a life of purpose, of training to fight for a brighter future. His thoughts were interrupted by a calloused hand landing on his shoulder. He turned to see Kyle, a scowl etched on his weathered face. "Heard whispers about your little find," Kyle said, his voice rough as sandpaper. Astraeus hesitated. Kyle wasn't exactly known for friendly chit-chat, but rumors spread fast in Lumina. He shrugged, unsure how much to reveal. To his surprise, Kyle chuckled, a dry, rasping sound. "Seraphina's been riling you up, hasn't she?" Astraeus stared at him, surprised. "How'd you know?" "She's got that same fire in her eyes I saw years ago," Kyle said, his gaze flickering towards the distant sky. "But the blight, it changes things. It takes a toll." A heavy silence descended between them. Finally, Astraeus blurted out, "The council wants the compass too. They say it can protect Lumina." Kyle scoffed. "Protect themselves, you mean? They've been content to sit behind these walls while Seraphina and the Sky Guards risk their necks keeping the blight at bay." Astraeus couldn't argue. The council's reluctance to fight back gnawed at him. "You know," Kyle continued, his voice low, "the training Seraphina offers, it's tough, it's dangerous. But if you have that fire in your belly, that yearning, for something more, then it might be the path for you." Astraeus looked at the hopeful trainees, their faces etched with determination. He pictured himself amongst them, learning to fight, to become a part of something bigger than himself. As the last rays of the dying sun filtered through Lumina's protective dome, dipped below the horizon, Astraeus made his choice. He wouldn't become a pawn in the council's power game. He craved the adventure, the purpose, the fight for a better future that Seraphina offered. The next day he found Seraphina on the rooftop where they first met, the wind whipping at her dark cloak. He held out the compass fragment, a resolute glint in his eyes. "I'm in," he said, his voice firm. Seraphina's facade faltered for a moment, a flicker of warmth replacing the usual steely gaze. "Welcome aboard, Astraeus," she said, a hint of a smile gracing her lips. "We have much to do." Chapter 5. Secrets of the Celestial Compass. The grimy training grounds of Lumina's Undercity buzzed with activity. Astraeus, stripped of his tattered Undercity garb, found himself clumsily wrestling with a padded staff under the watchful eye of Kyle. the gruff former sky guard. Sweat beaded on his forehead, and his arms ached with unfamiliar exertion. He was far from a natural, but a spark of determination burned within him, fueled by the weight of the celestial compass fragment clutched tightly in his pocket. Beside him, a young woman named Erica parried and thrust with effortless grace. Her sleek sky guard armor contrasted sharply with Astraeus's mismatched training gear, but her encouraging smile was genuine. "Relax your grip, Astraeus," Erica called out, weaving past his clumsy swing. "Let the staff be an extension of yourself." Astraeus grunted, attempting to loosen his white-knuckled grip. Erica had become his closest comrade in these first few weeks. Unlike the other trainees, mostly from Lumina's elite families, she understood his undercity upbringing and its unconventional fighting style. "It's not about brute force," Erica continued, disarming him with a swift movement. "Think of the blighted creatures you might face, agile, corrupted beasts." Astraeus grimaced, remembering the unsettling stories of monstrous creatures twisted by the blight. A shiver ran down his spine despite the oppressive heat of the training yard. Later, after a grueling session punctuated by grunts and groans, Seraphina emerged from the shadows. Her armor gleamed faintly. In the twilight, a stark contrast to the grimy surroundings. "Gather around," she said, her voice commanding silence from the exhausted trainees. Astraeus joined the group, his muscles screaming in protest. Seraphina held up a holographic display, depicting a complex network of shimmering lines against a backdrop of swirling nebulae. "This," she began, "is what we've been able to glean about the celestial compass from ancient texts." She pointed to a specific section of the intricate network. "The fragment you found, Astraeus, represents just one piece. We need to locate the remaining 4 to unlock the compass's true potential." A wave of nervous excitement rippled through the trainees. A 4-part mission venturing outside Lumina? The risks were immense, but the prospect of venturing into the unknown ignited a thrill in Astraeus's chest. Seraphina continued, revealing details of the Blight's corruption, the dangers of venturing into the desolate wasteland beyond Lumina's protective dome. She spoke of scouting missions conducted by veteran sky guards, their chilling accounts of warped landscapes and monstrous creatures fueling a sense of dread alongside the growing excitement. As her briefing concluded, a tense silence filled the air. Astraeus looked around at the faces of his fellow trainees, a mix of fear and determination. He swallowed hard, the weight of his decision settling on him. He was no longer just a street urchin from the Undercity. He was a member of the Sky Guard, in training, and the fate of finding the remaining compass fragments and potentially saving his world rested on his shoulders. Chapter 6. Whispers in the Shadows. Weeks bled into months as Astraeus and his fellow trainees endured the grueling Sky Guard training. Gone were the days of scavenging for scraps in the Undercity. Now, his days were filled with rigorous physical conditioning, weapons drills, and intensive lectures on the Blight's corrupting influence. Erica, his Undercity comrade, remained his closest confidant. They sparred together, sharing memories of their past lives and dreams of a brighter future. Her agility and quick wit compensated for Astraeus's occasional lack of finesse. However, Lumina wasn't just about sweat and swordsmanship. Astraeus discovered a hidden network of corridors beneath the city, a labyrinthine maze humming with a different kind of energy. Here, hooded figures bartered information for Ethereum dust, their voices hushed and whispers laden with paranoia. That evening, drawn by a rumor of a blight expert, Astraeus found himself in a dimly lit chamber. A cloaked figure sat hunched over a flickering display, their face obscured by the hood. "You seek knowledge of the blight?" the figure rasped, their voice distorted. Astraeus hesitated. This wasn't sanctioned Skyguard activity, but the hunger for knowledge gnawed at him. He nodded curtly. The figure chuckled, a dry, humorless sound. Knowledge is a dangerous game, young Skyguard, especially when it comes to the Blight. Over the next few meetings, the figure, who introduced themselves as the Harbinger, revealed unsettling truths about the Blight. They spoke of its insidious nature, its ability to corrupt not just the land, but minds and hearts as well. "The Council," the Harbinger whispered, their voice slithering into Astraeus's ear. "They fear the Blight, but they also see its potential, a power source, a weapon." Astraeus felt a shiver run down his spine. This wasn't what Seraphina had spoken of. This reeked of something far more sinister. "But there are those who resist," the Harbinger continued. "Those who believe the Blight can be countered, not exploited." They left the Harbingers and went back to the training grounds. In Astraeus's mind, the Harbinger's words sparked a seed of doubt. Was the Council playing their own game? Was Seraphina's vision the only option? He continued to train diligently, the newfound knowledge fueling his determination, but a flicker of unease now accompanied his excitement about the upcoming mission to retrieve the remaining compass fragments. He knew he needed answers, and he knew just where to look. Chapter 7. Descent into the Blighted Wastes. After a tense briefing within the Skyguard headquarters, all the Skyguards had weeks of relentless training. A holographic map of the desolate wasteland beyond Lumina flickered in the air, the crimson glow of the Blight radiating outwards like a cancerous tumor. Astraeus, his hands tightly gripping the worn handle of his practice staff, stood alongside Erica and a dozen other trainees, their faces etched with a mixture of apprehension and grim determination. Seraphina, her armor gleaming under the harsh artificial lights, pointed to a series of flickering blue dots on the map. "These are the locations where we believe the remaining compass fragments lie," she explained, her voice firm and unwavering. "Each retrieval mission will be led by a seasoned Skyguard, and a team of 2 trainees will be assigned as support. Astraeus, Erica, you'll be accompanying Sergeant Reyes to the abandoned mining outpost." A burly figure stepped forward, his face weathered and scarred, a testament to countless encounters with the blighted horrors. Sergeant Reyes, known for his unwavering loyalty, exuded an aura of quiet confidence. "Don't expect a sightseeing tour, rookies," he growled, his voice gravelly. "The blighted lands are no playground. Be alert, stay focused, and trust your training. Your survival might depend on it." The next day, a modified sky skiff, its sleek chrome exterior fitted with additional shielding and weaponry, roared to life on the launch pad. Astraeus, strapped securely into his seat, felt a surge of nervous excitement course through him. He glanced towards Erica, her green eyes sparkling with a mix of anticipation and fear. "Ready for the real deal, Undercity Dweller?" she teased with a smirk. Astraeus grinned back. "As ready as I'll ever be, Skyguard Princess." It was breathtaking as they ascended upwards. Almost reaching to Lumina's protective dome, the city below looks like a luminescent spiderweb, a stark contrast to the barren wasteland that awaited outside. When they breached the dome, a suffocating wave of heat washed over them, carrying with it the stench of decay and corruption. The crimson haze distorted the horizon, transforming the once lush landscape into a twisted nightmare. Sergeant Reyes navigated the skiff through the desolate landscape, expertly maneuvering around jagged rock formations and eerily silent valleys. The silence was oppressive, broken only by the rhythmic hum of the skiff's engines and the occasional ominous crackle from the Blight's tainted atmosphere. The outpost was an important mining facility before the Blight, Sergeant Reyes explained, his voice barely audible over the wind whipping at the cockpit. It's rumored a fragment of the compass was kept there for research purposes. As they approached their designated landing zone, a chilling sight greeted them. The once proud mining complex lay in ruins, its metallic structures twisted and warped by the Blight's touch. Jagged obsidian-like spikes erupted from the ground, and a sickly green fog hung heavy in the air. Astraeus swallowed hard, the reality of the situation hitting him like a physical blow. This wasn't a training exercise. This was a descent into a nightmare. Landing cautiously on a patch of relatively stable ground, the trio disembarked, their boots sinking into the ashen dust. Astraeus drew his plasma blade, the faint hum of energy a comforting sound in the oppressive silence. Erica and Sergeant Reyes followed suit, their weapons drawn and senses on high alert. Their journey towards the outpost was fraught with danger. Grotesque, insectoid creatures skittered from beneath rotting debris, drawn by the faint heat signatures emanating from their bodies. Sergeant Reyes swiftly dispatched them with his plasma rifle, the searing beams leaving behind an acrid stench of burnt ozone. Reaching the skeleton of the main building, they cautiously entered, navigating through collapsed corridors and gaping holes in the walls. The air was thick with dust and the metallic tang of decay. Luminescent fungi clung to the walls, casting an eerie green glow, and unsettling whispers seemed to emanate from the very fabric of the corrupted structure. Suddenly, a guttural roar echoed through the chamber, sending shivers down Astraeus's spine. A hulking monstrosity lumbered towards them, its once human form twisted and mutated by the Blight. Crimson eyes glowed in the darkness, and razor-sharp claws gnashed menacingly. Sergeant Reyes engaged the creature, his plasma rifle spitting bursts of searing energy. Erica, nimble and agile, danced around the beast, her vibro blade flashing as she landed precise strikes. Astraeus, adrenaline pumping through his veins, joined the fray, his plasma blade humming as he parried the creature's attacks. The battle was brutal. The blighted monstrosity, fueled by rage and corruption, was relentless. But their training kicked in. They worked together as a unit, Sergeant Reyes drawing fire while Erica weaved through the battlefield, her vibro blade a blur of deadly precision. Astraeus targeted the creature's weak points, pulsating sacs of blight energy that served as its grotesque eyes. Each blow landed with a sickening thud, but the creature seemed impervious to pain. It roared in defiance, its massive claws tearing through the earth, sending shock waves that threatened to topple them. Reyes grunted as he was flung backward by a swipe of the creature's claws. Blood trickled down his temple, but he was already scrambling back to his feet, blaster spitting fire. Erica, her movements a whirlwind of controlled fury, managed to land a glancing blow on one of the creature's eyes. It screeched in agony, thrashing about wildly. Astraeus seized the opportunity, channeling all his remaining energy into a single, powerful blast. It struck the creature's other eye dead on. There was a blinding flash of light followed by an ear-splitting shriek. The blighted monstrosity stumbled back, its form flickering and distorting. Then, with a final, earth-shattering tremor, it collapsed, its corrupted essence dissolving into a cloud of shimmering particles. Exhausted but exhilarated, Astraeus and Erica collapsed beside the smoldering remains of the creature. Reyes, his face pale but resolute, limped towards them. "That was closer than I'd like to admit," he rasped in a hoarse voice. Erica, wiping the sweat from her brow, nodded in agreement. "We underestimated its resilience." Astraeus, catching his breath, surveyed the battlefield. The stench of blight hung heavy in the air, a grim reminder of the battle they had just won. But amidst the devastation, he saw a flicker of hope, a tiny green shoot pushing through the cracked earth, a defiant symbol of life against the encroaching darkness. Chapter 8. Whispers in the Wasteland. "Good work," Sergeant Reyes rasped, stowing his rifle. "We need to find that compass fragment and get out of here." Astraeus nodded, glancing down at the throbbing gash on his arm. The adrenaline was fading fast, replaced by a dull ache that threatened to overwhelm him. But the mission, the hope of reclaiming their world, spurred him on. Following Sergeant Reyes's lead, they ventured deeper into the complex. The smelly corridors were twisted metal and shattered concrete, each turn revealing another grotesque reminder of the Blight's corrupting touch. The eerie whispers seemed to grow louder, a chilling melody of madness that gnawed at their minds. Finally, they reached a sealed vault door, its once sturdy surface marred by jagged cracks and corrupted symbols. Sergeant Reyes scanned the door with a handheld device. "Security protocols still active," he muttered, tapping a few buttons. The door hissed open with a groan, revealing a dust-filled chamber. In the center, resting on a pedestal, lay a tarnished metal disc, identical to the fragment Astraeus carried. Relief washed over him, a surge of pride momentarily eclipsing the fatigue and pain gnawing at his body. As Astraeus reached for the disc, a voice echoed through the chamber, distorted and inhuman. "Foolish sky guards, you think this relic holds the key to salvation? You are all pawns in a much larger game." A figure materialized from the shadows, shrouded in a tattered cloak. Its face was obscured by darkness, but an unnatural glow emanated from its eyes. A chill ran down Astraeus's spine. This was no blighted creature. This was something different, something altogether more sinister. "Who are you?" Sergeant Reyes boomed, his voice filled with a mixture of fear and defiance. The figure chuckled, a sound like fingernails scraping across stone. "You may call me the Harbinger," it rasped, "and your efforts, while admirable, are ultimately futile. The Blight is not a force to be contained. It is a destiny to be embraced." A wave of nausea washed over Astraeus. The Harbinger's words echoed with a chilling truth. The Council, with their talk of exploiting the Blight, could it be? He felt a seed of doubt bloom in his heart, a seed planted by the Harbinger's unsettling pronouncements. Sergeant Reyes, however, wasn't swayed by the Harbinger's rhetoric. He raised his rifle, aiming it squarely at the cloaked figure. "We won't let you spread your lies," he growled. "We fight for our world, not for some twisted ideology." Before Sergeant Reyes could pull the trigger, the chamber vibrated violently. Glowing cracks snaked across the walls, as if the Blight itself was responding to the Harbinger's presence. The ceiling crumbled, showering them in dust and debris. The Harbinger let out a cackle, a sound full of malicious glee. "This world is already lost," it declared. "But fear not, Sky Guards. You will soon become part of it." With a final, chilling laugh, the Harbinger vanished, leaving the trio to grapple with the collapsing chamber. Astraeus scrambled for cover, adrenaline once again flooding his veins, the air filled with dust and the ominous groan of shifting metal. "We need to get out of here," Sergeant Reyes yelled, urgency lacing his voice. They fought their way back through the crumbling corridors, narrowly dodging falling debris and pressurized ventilation shafts. The entire complex seemed on the verge of collapse. Finally, bursting through a gaping hole in the outer wall, they stumbled out onto the desolate wasteland. Behind them, the outpost imploded in a cloud of dust and fire. Astraeus watched in disbelief as the once proud structure became another victim of the blighted lands. Sergeant Reyes, his face grim, helped Astraeus to his feet. "Good work, kid," he said. Erica nodded, her eyes filled with concern. "We need to get back to the skiff. This place is about to swallow us whole." Chapter 9. Fractured Loyalties. Finally within the sky skiff, it immediately roared to life just as a tremor shook the ground beneath them. Astraeus, his arm throbbing in protest, watched the blighted complex crumble into a smoldering ruin, The harbinger's words echoed in his mind, casting a shadow of doubt on everything he thought he believed. Was fighting the blight truly their only option? Could there be another path, as the harbinger suggested? Erica nudged him, her worried green eyes questioning his silence. "We need to talk about what just happened back there," she said, her voice barely audible over the rhythmic hum of the skiff's engines. Astraeus hesitated. He wasn't sure how to articulate the disquiet gnawing at him. "The harbinger," he began, his voice low. "Their words, they planted a seed of doubt." Sergeant Reyes, his face grim and weathered, glanced at them through the rearview mirror. "The harbinger is a blight worshipper," he growled. "Their words are poison, designed to weaken our resolve." "But what if there's more to it?" Astraeus pressed, unable to shake the unsettling feeling. "What if the council isn't as noble as we think? What if they see the blight as a weapon, not a threat?" Sergeant Reyes sighed, a deep rumble emanating from his chest. "The council made mistakes, there's no denying that," he admitted. "They focused on self-preservation while we, the Sky Guards, risked our lives keeping the blight at bay. But they're not monsters. They're terrified." Erica placed a hand on Astraeus' shoulder. "Fear can make people do desperate things," she said, her voice soft. "But despair is what the blight thrives on. We can't give in to it." Astraeus fell silent, his mind a battlefield of conflicting thoughts. He trusted Sergeant Reyes, and he believed in fighting for their world. But the harbinger's words resonated with a chilling truth. The blight was a powerful force. Could it be harnessed, controlled? Was that a better option than the endless struggle they currently faced? The uncertainty gnawed at him, making his stomach churn almost as much as the nauseating bumps in their flight path. As they neared Lumina's shimmering dome, a sense of dread settled over him. Returning meant facing not just the council's scrutiny, but also a deeper reckoning with his own burgeoning doubts. Landing within the designated zone, they were met by a grim-faced Commander Thorn, the Sky Guard's leader. His stern demeanor only amplified Astraeus' anxieties. "Report," Thorn barked, his voice laced with a sharp edge. Sergeant Reyes recounted the mission, detailing their encounter with the blighted creature and the retrieval of the compass fragment. However, he wisely omitted the encounter with the harbinger. As Sergeant Reyes finished, Astraeus found himself unable to hold his tongue any longer. "Sir," he said, stepping forward, "we also encountered someone on the mission." Thorn's gaze narrowed, fixing on Astraeus. "Explain." Astraeus, his voice trembling slightly, relayed the encounter with the harbinger, their ominous words, and the frightening display of power at the collapsing outpost. A tense silence filled the air as Thorn listened impassively. When Astraeus finished, the commander's face remained unreadable. "Thank you for your report," Thorn finally said, his voice betraying no emotion. "Sergeant Reyes, please ensure the fragment is delivered to the designated research facility." Astraeus watched Sergeant Reyes depart, a wave of frustration building within him. They had just encountered a potential threat unlike anything they'd faced before, and Thorn seemed content to bury it under the rug. "Sir," Astraeus blurted out, unable to contain his frustration, "don't you think we should investigate? Who is the harbinger? What are their motives?" Thorn turned towards him, his steely gaze unwavering. "There are things you don't understand, boy," he said, his voice low and cold. "Follow orders, and keep your doubts to yourself. The blight is our enemy. Those who sympathize with them are enemies too." Astraeus felt a hot flush climb up his neck. Was that all there was to it? Blind allegiance and a refusal to acknowledge the complexities of the situation. But what if... he started, then stopped. What if his doubts were right? What if the council truly had ulterior motives? He wasn't ready to voice such accusations, not without more proof. Erica, sensing his turmoil, placed a hand on his arm. "We'll get to the bottom of this," Erica whispered, her voice filled with a quiet determination that mirrored Astraeus's own burgeoning resolve. "But for now, we need to stay under the radar. We can't afford to be labeled traitors along with these blight-worshipping harbingers." Astraeus nodded, a flicker of defiance glinting in his eyes. He wouldn't let Thorn's dismissal silence him. He had a responsibility, not just to blindly follow orders, but to question, to investigate. And he wouldn't be alone. He had Erica by his side, someone who understood his doubts and shared his determination for the truth. The days that followed were a tense dance. Astraeus and Erica reported for their regular training drills, the retrieved compass fragment now secured within Lumina's heavily guarded research facility. But beneath the surface, a seed of rebellion blossomed. They started frequenting the hidden corridors beneath the city, their once innocent curiosity transformed into a determined search for information. During these meetings, the Harbinger remained their only source of knowledge outside the tightly controlled narratives offered by the Sky Guard and the veiled pronouncements of the Council. Through encrypted messages delivered through a network of sympathetic, undercity figures, the Harbinger painted a disturbing picture. They spoke of the Blight not as a mindless force of destruction, but as a sentient entity, a warped reflection of the natural world, twisted by a long-forgotten catastrophe. They claimed the Council was not just studying the Blight for defense, but for ways to weaponize its raw power. Astraeus struggled to reconcile this information with the unwavering belief in the Council's righteousness instilled in him by the Sky Guard. His doubts gnawed at him, leaving him constantly on edge. One night, after a particularly grueling training session, he found himself drawn back to the hidden chamber. Erica emerged from the shadows, a troubled expression etched on her face. "I found something," she said, handing him a data chip. "It came from a source close to the council chambers. It talks about Project Phoenix." Astraeus's brow furrowed. Project Phoenix? He had never heard of it in any of his briefings. He plugged the data chip into a battered console, a screen flickering to life with classified reports and schematics. His stomach lurched as he scanned the information. Project Phoenix detailed the Council's true intentions for the celestial compass. It spoke of amplifying the Blight's energy, harnessing its power to create a devastating weapon. The weapon wasn't designed to destroy the Blight, but to subjugate it, to bend it to the Council's will. Astraeus felt a wave of nausea wash over him. Everything he believed in, the Sky Guard's dedication to protecting their world, seemed to crumble around him. The Council, consumed by fear and desperation, were willing to embrace a weapon fueled by the very force they claimed to fight.
"We have to warn Sergeant Reyes," Erica declared, her voice tight with anger. "He'll understand. He wouldn't stand for this." Astraeus hesitated. He trusted Sergeant Reyes, but could they risk exposing their source? Moreover, even if they convinced the sergeant, would his voice be enough to sway the Council, consumed as they were by their warped ambition? A different, more daring plan began to form in Astraeus's mind. He looked at Erica, a newfound resolve shining in his eyes. "No," he said, his voice firm. "We can't trust anyone right now. We need to find another way, something bolder." Erica met his gaze, a spark of understanding igniting in her own. A silent conversation passed between them, a shared determination to fight back, not just against the Blight, but against the insidious corruption festering within Lumina's walls. The following days were a blur of planning and preparation. Astraeus and Erica used their training, their knowledge of Lumina's underbelly, and the information gleaned from the Harbinger to formulate a risky plan. They would infiltrate the research facility where the fragments of the celestial compass were housed, steal them back, and deliver them to the Harbinger, hoping they could offer an alternative, a way to counter the blight without embracing its destructive power. It was a dangerous gamble, one that could brand them as traitors and cost them their lives. But Astraeus, his youthful naivety replaced by a steely determination, was no longer willing to be a pawn in a game he couldn't control. He was ready to fight for a better future, a future where they weren't forced to choose between annihilation and a twisted weaponization of the very threat endangering their world. As the final sliver of the blighted sun dipped below the polluted horizon, casting long, distorted shadows across Lumina, Astraeus and Erica stood cloaked in darkness, a stolen sky guard skiff humming impatiently behind them. Their hearts pounded in unison, a rhythm that echoed the city's oppressive silence. Tonight was the night. "Eddie?" Erica whispered, her emerald eyes gleaming with a mix of apprehension and determination. Astraeus forced a smile, his hand instinctively gripping the stolen plasma pistol hidden beneath his coat. "As ready as we'll ever be." Their plan was crazy, bordering on reckless. They would infiltrate the heavily guarded research facility housing the celestial compass fragments, bypass the sophisticated security measures, and retrieve the fragments before vanishing into the blighted wasteland once more. Their only ally in this endeavor was the information gleaned from the Harbinger, cryptic instructions, and crude schematics of the facility's layout. The skiff deposited them a safe distance from the research facility, a hulking structure of reinforced concrete and shimmering force fields. Leaving the stolen vehicle behind, they activated their cloaking devices, their figures merging with the night. Astraeus, his senses on high alert, felt a prickle of unease. The cloaking technology was scavenged from the undercity black market, its reliability questionable at best. They navigated the facility's perimeter, relying on the Harbinger's fragmented intel to bypass patrolling sky guards. The silence was broken only by the rhythmic hum of the building's ventilation system and the pounding of their hearts. Astraeus found himself cursing the stolen data chip, a flickering hologram projected from a wrist communicator, for its lack of detail. Suddenly, a flicker of movement in the distance caught Erica's eye. She nudged Astraeus, pointing towards a pair of sky guards engaged in a hushed conversation. Their cloaking devices deactivated momentarily, revealing their luminescent uniforms. Astraeus cursed under his breath. This wasn't part of the plan. He quickly scanned their surroundings, spotting a network of ventilation shafts snaking across the building's exterior. "Distraction," he mouthed to Erica, already formulating a new strategy. Erica nodded, her lips curving into a determined smirk. With a swift movement, she hurled a rock in the opposite direction, drawing the guards' attention. As they turned to investigate, Erica activated a stolen sonic grenade, the high-pitched whine momentarily disrupting their senses. Using the brief window of opportunity, Astraeus scrambled towards the ventilation shaft, Erica close behind. They squeezed through the cramped opening, the stale air thick with the metallic tang of recycled oxygen. The claustrophobic environment and the incessant hum of machinery heightened their sense of urgency. They navigated the labyrinthine network of ducts, relying on the stolen schematic to guide them towards the research lab holding the compass fragments. Each turn brought a new set of obstacles, malfunctioning fans threatening to expose them, security drones patrolling the larger ducts. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, they emerged into a dimly lit chamber. In the center, secured within a containment field thrumming with otherworldly energy, lay the celestial compass fragments, their metallic surfaces pulsating with a faint blue glow. Elated relief washed over Astraeus, quickly replaced by a surge of caution. Deactivating their cloaking devices, they cautiously approached the containment field. Bypassing the security measures, however, proved to be a different challenge altogether. The stolen data chip offered only vague instructions, a jumbled mess of cryptic codes and technical jargon. Panic threatened to overwhelm Astraeus, but Erica, ever calm under pressure, placed a hand on his arm. "Focus," she whispered, her voice resonating with a quiet authority. Taking a deep breath, Astraeus forced himself to concentrate. He recalled his training, the lessons on basic security protocols, searching for a pattern, a loophole in the system. His eyes scanned the intricate control panel, a flicker of recognition sparking within him. "The access code," he muttered, his voice barely a whisper. "It's not a random sequence, it's based on the blighted energy signature." He quickly adjusted the code, aligning it with the faint fluctuations emanating from the containment field. A tense silence followed, broken only by the hum of the chamber's machinery. Then, with a soft hiss, the containment field deactivated. Astraeus deactivated the remaining security measures, and together he and Erica retrieved the compass fragments. Relief washed over them, but they knew their ordeal was far from over. Their escape was far from guaranteed. As they retraced their steps through the ventilation shafts, the building lurched violently. Alarms blared, red emergency lights flashing in the cramped space. Panic clawed at Astraeus' throat. They had triggered an additional security measure, one not accounted for in the Harbinger's incomplete intel. "This way," Erica yelled, pointing towards a previously unnoticed maintenance hatch at the end of the shaft. It was a tight fit, barely large enough for one person at a time. But with no other option, Astraeus squeezed through first, the rough metal scraping against his back. Erica followed close behind, the siren's wail growing louder with every passing second. They found themselves on a deserted catwalk overlooking a vast hangar filled with gleaming skyskiffs. But their elation was short-lived. A squad of skyguards, alerted by the blaring alarms, materialized at the far end of the catwalk. "There!" one of them shouted, pointing towards Astraeus and Erica. "They're escaping." Astraeus cursed. They were trapped, hopelessly outnumbered. His mind raced, searching for a way out. Just then, a daring plan sparked in his head, fueled by a desperate hope. "Erica," he hissed, grabbing her arm. "Distract them." Erica, understanding his plan without a word, nodded resolutely. Pulling out a stolen smoke grenade from her pocket, she activated it and hurled it towards the skyguards. A thick cloud of white smoke engulfed the hangar, momentarily blinding and disorienting the guards. Using the precious seconds bought by the smoke, Astraeus sprinted towards a nearby skiff, its sleek chrome surface reflecting the flashing red emergency lights. He jumped into the cockpit, his heart pounding in his chest. "No," he heard Erica scream from behind the smoke cloud. A wave of guilt washed over him, but he knew there was no time to hesitate. He slammed the cockpit shut and frantically searched for the controls. Through the fading smoke, he saw Erica battling two skyguards, her movements fluid and efficient. But he also saw the glint of a plasma rifle aimed directly at her. Adrenaline surged through him, drowning out the blaring alarms and flashing lights. With a trembling hand, Astraeus fumbled with the controls. His training on stolen sky gliders, gleaned from his undercity days, came flooding back. He activated the engine, a low hum filling the cockpit. He couldn't take off yet, not with Erica still on the ground. Looking back, he saw Erica disarm one of the sky guards with a swift kick. But the other sky guard, their face contorted with anger, raised their weapon again. Without thinking, Astraeus slammed his fist against a red button on the control panel, the emergency release. The hangar door, a massive slab of reinforced metal, hissed open with a groan. A rush of blighted air, thick with the cloying stench of decay and corruption, flooded the hangar. The sky guards stumbled back, their faces contorted in disgust. Seizing this opportunity, Erica launched herself towards the open hangar door. With a desperate leap, she cleared the threshold, rolling to a stop just outside the hangar bay. Astraeus slammed the throttle forward, the skiff surging to life. He barely cleared the collapsing hangar door as a wave of blighted air, pulsating with an unnatural green glow, rushed in. He glanced back through the rearview mirror, catching a glimpse of the hangar being swallowed by the blight, the remaining sky guards engulfed in its corrupting embrace. A sob escaped Erica's lips as she watched the hangar disappear, but her eyes hardened with determination as they met Astraeus's gaze. He knew then that they were in this together, fugitives on the run with a stolen artifact and a dangerous secret. With a heavy heart, Astraeus steered the skiff towards the desolate expanse of the blighted lands, a single thought echoing in his mind: they had become pawns no more. They were rebels, determined to forge their own path, a path that didn't involve succumbing to either the blight or the Council's twisted ambitions. The stolen sky skiff sputtered and coughed as it pierced through the blighted sky. The once vibrant blue had been replaced by a sickly green, and the air crackled with an unsettling electrical energy. Astraeus gripped the controls tightly, his knuckles white. Every groan and sputter of the engine sent a jolt of fear through him. He wasn't built for piloting, and this jury-rigged sky skiff was far from reliable. Erica sat beside him, her face grim but resolute. She had managed to snatch a datapad from one of the fallen sky guards, a potential treasure trove of information. "There," she said, pointing towards a faint blip on the scanner. "The coordinates the Harbinger sent us." Astraeus steered the skiff towards the flickering dot, a tremor of unease gnawing at his gut. The Harbinger's motives remained shrouded in mystery. Were they truly offering an alternative, or were they simply manipulating them for their own purposes? He had no choice but to trust them, at least for now. They landed on a desolate plateau, the blighted landscape stretching out before them in a twisted tapestry of jagged rock formations and shimmering obsidian spikes. The air was thick with the stench of decay, and an unnatural silence hung heavy in the atmosphere. A hooded figure emerged from the shadows, their movements shrouded in secrecy. "Astraeus," the Harbinger rasped, their voice distorted by the hood. "Erica, you have done well." Astraeus held out the stolen celestial compass fragments, a flicker of defiance in his eyes. "We retrieved them," he said. "Now tell us, what do you propose to do with them?" The Harbinger chuckled, a sound like scraping nails on stone. "The compass, once complete, can not only shield against the blight, but also channel its energy with it. We can create a beacon to call upon the true protectors of this world." Astraeus narrowed his eyes. "Protectors? Who are you talking about?" The Harbinger threw back their hood, revealing a face etched with age and a haunting beauty. It was a woman, her eyes glowing with an ethereal blue light. "We are the descendants of the ancients," she declared, her voice resonating with a strange power. "We were the guardians of this world long before the blight arrived. We are the ones who can heal the land, not those who seek to control its destructive power." Astraeus and Erica exchanged a stunned look. Could this be true? Was there another way, a hope for a future beyond endless war and devastating weapons? The Harbinger extended a hand towards the compass fragments. "Give them to me," she said, her voice gentle but firm. "The time has come to restore balance." Astraeus hesitated. This woman, this supposed descendant of the ancients, commanded an undeniable presence. But a sliver of doubt remained. Could he trust her entirely? Could he risk handing over the compass, the only potential weapon against the blight, to a complete unknown? As he contemplated this, a low growl echoed across the desolate plains. A massive blighted creature, its form a grotesque amalgamation of mutated flesh and bone, lumbered towards them. It was unlike any monster they had encountered before, radiating a chilling power that sent shivers down their spines. "The Council's doing," the Harbinger spat, her voice laced with venom. "They pushed the blight further, forcing it to evolve." The creature roared, charging towards them. Astraeus knew they had no choice. They had to trust the Harbinger, at least for now. With a deep breath, he placed the compass fragments in her outstretched hand. A surge of energy rippled through the air, as the fragments pulsed with an otherworldly glow. The Harbinger raised them high, chanting in a language that resonated with a forgotten power. The blighted creature screeched to a halt, its eyes filled with confusion. The ground began to tremble, and a blinding light erupted from the compass fragments. It wasn't a violent, destructive force like the weapon the Council envisioned. It was a calming presence, a wave of healing energy that washed over the desolate landscape. The blighted creature, as if responding to the beckoning call, let out a mournful howl before dissolving into a cloud of shimmering particles. The corrupted land around them began to show signs of life, tiny green shoots pushing through the cracked earth, a faint breeze carrying the scent of something other than decay. Astraeus and Erica watched in awe as the blight receded, replaced by a promise of renewal. The Harbinger lowered the compass fragments, her eyes filled with a newfound hope. "This is just the beginning," she declared. "The fight to restore our world has begun." Astraeus knew their journey was far from over. They had become fugitives, hunted by the Council for stealing the celestial compass fragments and potentially siding with the enigmatic Harbinger. Yet, as he gazed upon the revitalized patch of land, a flicker of hope burned brighter than the fear gnawing at him. This wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about forging a new path, one built on restoring balance and healing the world, not exploiting its corrupted energy. The Harbinger, her true name revealed as Luca, led them deeper into the blighted lands, navigating treacherous terrain and avoiding blight storms that crackled with unnatural energy. Days blurred into weeks as they learned about the history of the ancients, their connection to the land, and the cataclysmic event that birthed the blight. Luca explained that the blight wasn't a sentient entity, but rather a twisted reflection of the world's natural energy, warped by the careless actions of the ancients themselves. Their reliance on powerful artifacts, fueled by the very lifeblood of the planet, ultimately led to an imbalance, a festering wound that manifested as the blight. Astraeus and Erica absorbed this knowledge, grappling with the realization that the enemy wasn't some external force, but a consequence of their own ancestors' hubris. This understanding fueled their determination to rectify the past, to find a way to heal the blight and restore the world to its former glory. That evening, as they huddled around a crackling fire, Luca revealed a hidden chamber carved within a towering obsidian spike. Inside, murals depicted the celestial compass not as a weapon, but as a conduit, a device used by the ancients to maintain harmony with the planet's energy. "The compass wasn't designed for control," Luca explained, her voice echoing in the chamber. "It was a tool for balance. By channeling the natural energy through it, the ancients nurtured the land and protected it from any imbalance." With a newfound purpose, Astraeus and Erica studied the murals, deciphering the intricate symbols and forgotten language. Days turned into weeks as they diligently pieced together the knowledge of the ancients, learning how to manipulate the compass and its connection to the world's energy. Meanwhile, whispers of their rebellion reached Lumina. Commander Thorn, consumed by rage and fear, unleashed a relentless pursuit. Bounty hunters scoured the blighted lands, their greed fueled by the exorbitant reward offered for their capture. One day, as Astraeus and Erica practiced channeling energy through the compass under Luca's guidance, a plume of black smoke rose on the horizon. A sky skiff emblazoned with the Lumina Guard insignia circled ominously above. "They've found us," Erica cursed, grabbing her vibroblade. Luca remained calm, her eyes holding a steely resolve. "We knew this day would come, we are ready." A fierce battle ensued. Luca, despite her age, wielded an ethereal blade pulsating with blue energy, deflecting blaster fire with ease. Astraeus and Erica fought alongside her, their sky guard training coming into play. But the bounty hunters were relentless, their numbers overwhelming. Just as it seemed they were about to be overrun, a guttural roar echoed across the battlefield. A massive blighted creature, mutated beyond recognition, lumbered towards the fray, attracted by the energy surges. "The Council's doing," Luca yelled over the din, her voice filled with anger. "They've unleashed a monstrosity to force us out." The blighted creature, its eyes glowing with a malevolent red light, attacked indiscriminately. Bounty hunters and sky guards alike fell victim to its savage onslaught. In the ensuing chaos, Luca led Astraeus and Erica towards a hidden tunnel within the chamber. "There's another way," she said, urgency lacing her voice. "We need to get to the heart of the blight, to the source of the imbalance." With trepidation, Astraeus and Erica followed Luca into the darkness, leaving behind the battle cries and the monstrous roars of the blighted creature. They had no idea what awaited them at the heart of the blight, but they knew one thing for certain: their fight for a future free from both the Council's corruption and the blight's devastation had just begun. The tunnel plunged them into suffocating darkness. The only light came from the faint blue glow emanating from the celestial compass fragments clutched in Luca's hand. The air grew thick and stale, heavy with the metallic tang of decay that permeated the blightlands. Astraeus stumbled along, his heart pounding against his ribs, every creak and groan of the tunnel playing tricks on his nerves. "Where does this lead?" Erica whispered, her voice barely audible in the oppressive silence. "To the blight's core," Luca replied, her voice echoing eerily in the tunnel. "A place where the natural energy of the world has been corrupted beyond recognition. It is here we must find a way to restore balance." After what felt like an eternity, the tunnel opened into a vast cavern. The sight that greeted them was unlike anything they could have imagined. A swirling vortex of sickly green energy pulsed at the cavern's center, crackling with malevolent power. Tendrils of this energy snaked across the cavern walls, twisting and writhing like tortured souls. A wave of nausea washed over Astraeus. This was the heart of the blight, the source of its corruption, and it was terrifyingly beautiful. An instinctive fear urged him to turn back, but the flicker of hope Luca had ignited within him burned even brighter. "The murals," Erica said, her voice hushed as she pointed towards the cavern walls. "They depict this place." Indeed, ancient murals etched upon the cavern walls depicted a scene eerily similar to what they were witnessing. Figures adorned in flowing robes, presumed to be the ancients, stood in a circle around the swirling vortex, their palms outstretched towards it. The murals seemed to suggest a ritual, an attempt to contain or control the energy. "They were trying to heal it," Luca muttered, her gaze fixed on the murals. "Before it was too late." Suddenly, the cavern trembled violently. A deep, booming voice resonated from the vortex itself, a voice that echoed with a chilling power that sent shivers down their spines. "Who dares enter my domain?" the voice boomed, shaking the very foundations of the cavern. Astraeus and Erica exchanged a nervous glance. This twisted entity, the embodiment of the blight, was sentient. But was it beyond redemption? Luca stepped forward, her voice ringing with a newfound authority. "We come not to destroy," she declared, raising the celestial compass fragments high. "We come to heal." The vortex pulsed with a malevolent light. Heal, you cannot heal what is broken beyond repair, this world is mine. Luca remained undeterred. This world is not yours to claim, she countered. It belongs to those who nurture it, not those who seek to consume it. We are the descendants of those who made a mistake, but we are also the ones who can rectify it. The cavern remained silent for a tense moment. Then, the booming voice spoke again, its tone laced with a hint of curiosity. You speak of balance, a forgotten concept. A glimmer of hope flickered in Astraeus's chest. Perhaps there was room for negotiation, a way to heal the blight from within, rather than simply suppressing it. He looked at Luca, a silent question hanging in the air. Luca, sensing his doubt, met his gaze with a firm nod. We can help you return to harmony, she said, her voice steady. But it requires trust. Another long silence followed, broken only by the crackling energy of the vortex. Finally, the booming voice spoke one last time. Very well, it rumbled. Show me how, but be warned, any attempt at deception will be met with swift destruction. Astraeus felt an immense weight settle on his shoulders. The fate of their world now hinged on their ability to not only understand the blighted entity, but also to heal it with a device they were still struggling to master. This wasn't just a battle against external forces anymore. It was a quest for understanding, a journey into the heart of a corrupted world where the lines between enemy and ally were blurred beyond recognition. Luca, undeterred by the weight of their task, began reciting an ancient chant etched on the murals. Her voice resonated with the cavern walls, filling the space with a melody that thrummed with forgotten power. The celestial compass fragments in her hand hummed in response, pulsing with a soft blue light that mirrored the swirling green energy of the vortex. As Luca continued her chant, Astraeus and Erica felt a shift in the very fabric of the cavern. The air crackled with a new energy, a mingling of the blight's corrupted power and the celestial compass's restorative potential. A long and arduous task lay ahead, filled with unknown risks and potential failure. But for the first time since they had defied the Council, a sliver of hope. Chapter 10. A Dance with Corruption. The cavern walls vibrated with a low hum as Luca, her voice echoing with an ancient power, continued her recitation. The celestial compass fragments in her hand glowed with an ethereal blue light, a stark contrast to the swirling vortex of sickly green energy that pulsed at the cavern's center. Astraeus and Erica, feeling the tremors resonate through their very bones, exchanged nervous glances. The atmosphere crackled with a tension as thick as the stale air, a tension laced with a sliver of hope and a heavy dose of uncertainty. The blighted entity, its voice a rumbling bass that seemed to originate from the vortex itself, remained silent as Luca chanted. The minutes stretched into an eternity, each tick of the non-existent clock echoing in the oppressive silence. Just as doubts began to creep into Astraeus's mind, a shift occurred. The vortex's green energy pulsed erratically, tendrils reaching out like grasping claws, then recoiling as if repelled by the soft blue glow emanating from the compass fragments. It reacts, Erica whispered, her voice barely audible amidst the cavern's low hum. Luca's chant reached a crescendo, her voice rising in a final, powerful note. The cavern walls pulsed in response, the air thick with a potent energy. As the last echo of her voice faded, the swirling vortex calmed, the tendrils retracting back into its center. A tense silence descended, broken only by the ragged breaths of Astraeus and Erica. Then, the voice boomed, shaking the very foundation of the cavern. So, it rumbled, the tremor resonating in their bones. You speak of healing? Astraeus felt a shiver run down his spine. The entity spoke, not with the malice he expected, but with a hint of curiosity. Luca stepped forward, her gaze unwavering as she met the entity's unseen presence. "We come not to destroy," she declared, her voice ringing with authority. "We come to offer a path back to balance." The vortex pulsed again, a flicker of doubt rippling through its green energy. "Balance, you speak of a concept long forgotten. This world," its voice faltered for a moment, "this world is mine." "This world belongs to all who live on it," Luca countered. "Those who nurture it, not those who seek to consume it. We, the descendants of those who made a mistake, offer a way to rectify it." The entity remained silent, a tense exchange of energies filling the cavern. This wasn't a battle. It was a negotiation, a delicate dance on the precipice of destruction. Astraeus watched Luca, his heart pounding in his chest. Everything hinged on her ability to not only communicate with this corrupted essence, but also convince it to relinquish its destructive hold on the world. Finally, a low hum resonated from the vortex. "You speak of balance," the voice echoed, a hint of intrigue lacing its tone. "Show me how, but be warned," it boomed, its power returning. "Any attempt at deception will be met with swift destruction." A wave of relief washed over Astraeus. This entity, powerful and corrupt as it wasn't beyond redemption. Hope, a fragile ember, flickered within him. Luca, seizing the opportunity, turned towards Astraeus and Erica. "We must understand the blight," she explained, her voice firm. "We need to not only channel the celestial compass's power, but also comprehend the entity's pain, the root of its corruption." She pointed back towards the murals adorned on the cavern walls. "The ancients sought to understand," she said, tracing the faded figures with her finger. "They studied the natural energy, used the compass as a conduit, not a weapon." Days turned into weeks as they pored over the murals, deciphering the symbolism, the rituals depicted. Slowly, with Luca's guidance, they began to understand the flow of natural energy, how it intertwined with the very essence of the world. They learned how the ancients channeled this energy through the compass, maintaining harmony and preventing imbalances. But deciphering wasn't enough. They needed practice, a way to safely interact with the blight's energy. Luca, drawing upon her knowledge of ancient techniques, created a series of training exercises. Using fragments of blighted rock, imbued with the entity's corrupted power, they practiced channeling the compass's healing energy, attempting to purify the blight's essence. It was a painstaking process, fraught with risk. Every wrong move sent jolts of corrupted energy through their bodies, leaving them weakened and nauseated. But with each failed attempt, with each agonizing twinge of pain, they grew stronger, their understanding of the blight's essence deepening. Few months passed, the cavern becoming their sanctuary and their prison. They trained tirelessly, the cavern walls echoing with Luca's instructions and their grunts of exertion. Slowly, a fragile trust began to form between them and the blighted entity. It responded subtly at first, flickering its green energy in response to their attempts at purification. Then, one momentous day, a breakthrough. As Astraeus channeled the compass's power towards a shard of blighted rock, a soft blue light engulfed the shard. The green corruption within receded, replaced by a luminescent white, the essence of pure energy. A tremor ran through the cavern, and from the vortex, a booming voice resonated, laced with awe. "You have done it!" Hope flared in Astraeus's chest. They had achieved a true purification, a testament to their dedication and Luca's unwavering leadership. With renewed vigor, they pushed forward, refining their technique, purifying larger and larger fragments of blighted rock. Each successful attempt brought a further calming of the vortex, the tendrils of green energy retracting further and further into its core. Finally, the day arrived for their ultimate test. They stood before the vortex, the celestial compass fragments pulsating brightly in Luca's hand. Taking a deep breath, she began the ancient chant, her voice filling the cavern with a powerful melody. Astraeus and Erica joined in, their voices weaving with hers, a harmonious chorus echoing their hope for a restored world. As the chant reached its crescendo, the celestial compass fragments erupted in a blinding blue light. The vortex swirled, the green energy thrashing in defiance. But the blue light held strong, pushing back the corruption bit by bit. The cavern trembled violently, threatening to collapse around them. Doubt threatened to consume Astraeus, but he held firm, fueled by the unwavering determination in Luca's eyes. With a final earth-shattering tremor, the green energy within the vortex collapsed, revealing a radiant core of pure white light. The cavern resonated with an otherworldly hum, a symphony of restored harmony. The entity, its voice filled with newfound peace, spoke one last time. "Thank you," it boomed, the cavern walls vibrating with the force of its gratitude. "You have healed the wound, restored balance to this world." Light flooded the cavern, a brilliant white emanating from the core. It enveloped Astraeus, Erica, and Luca, a cleansing embrace that banished the blight's lingering effects from their bodies. As the light subsided, they found themselves standing on a lush green meadow, the once desolate blighted lands transformed. The air buzzed with life, the scent of fresh earth and blooming flowers filling their senses. Tears welled up in Astraeus's eyes. Together, they had achieved the impossible, not through violence, but through understanding and healing. Luca turned to them, a radiant smile gracing her face. "The world is safe," she declared, her voice echoing across the meadow. "But our work is far from over. We must teach others, share this knowledge, so that balance is never lost again." Astraeus and Erica nodded, a newfound purpose burning bright within them. They were no longer fugitives, but custodians of a restored world, forever bound by their shared experience at the heart of the blight. The journey ahead would be long and arduous, but they were no longer alone. They had each other, and the unwavering spirit of a world reborn. This is the end of the Book of the Stolen Stars. I hope you enjoy this story. Thank you for listening. Until next time.